Okay, thank you all for coming. It's obviously a very disappointing weekend. I fully understand all the whatever those differing thoughts and opinions might be, and we've got ourselves in a situation where we have a big job ahead, and absolutely doing everything we can to prepare our team for the next game. I mean, that's what's looming in front of us, and so our coaches right now, the focus on our team, being with our groups, focusing on real things that can help them, as I've mentioned before, and then continuing to recruit. So that's kind of our job description anyway, and everything you want in coaching right now is right out there in front of you as far as all the parts. And so that's what we absolutely have to do is put a plan together, have a good start to the week today as we begin with our team later this afternoon, and get ready to go. That's actually the one part that is remains constant in our life of how we approach it. The players need our support and coaching with every bit of passion and preparation that we can have, and that's where we have to go with it. If you want a quick summary of the last game, all you have to do is look at the rushing statistics and the explosive plays. I mean, those things kind of tell the story. And our injury situation, we've kind of reached a point with Luke Gifford where it was decided that the best thing for him would be to have surgery this week and begin his process of getting ready better for his next go-round in the future. So that's what will happen with Luke. Connor Young hurt his ankle, had a high ankle sprain, and will be out for the game. Tanner Lee is in the concussion protocol at this time. So as you know, that's a process that we go through day to day. And that's where it is. And Eric Lee has remained in that concussion protocol. Connor Ketter is possible this week. We'll just see how his back gets to feeling as the week goes on. Jalen Bradley should be more ready to go. I think he was pretty close for the game, probably could have played in the game, but he should be ready to go. Mick Stoltenberg has had a little bit of a knee problem, but we anticipate him being okay. Chris Weber has had that neck and came in and out of the game a little bit, but he should be ready to go. Dedrick Young has had a lower back issue, and we're hoping that he's going to be ready to go as we get going. I think you all know Penn State as a very good football team all around, with a great runner. They're very versatile. I really like the quarterback. I think he's a great fit for what they do, and their defense is physical, lots of movement. It's a good defense. So we'll have our work cut out for us for sure. And from there, I'll open it up.
Mike, how do you handle the Tanner thing as far as reps, and is there a cutoff point in the week where you say, he hasn't had reps, we have to go with Patrick?
Yeah, I think that with the protocol that you go through, there won't even be early on in the sequencing. He won't get any reps. So obviously he's played a lot, and a decision about him can be made later when cleared, if in time. But at the same time, we are today practicing Patrick O'Brien as if he's going to start, and that really fits because Tanner won't be able to do anything anyway.
So Bunch is number 2 then?
Yeah, Andrew Bunch will step in and be the number 2 quarterback.
So
yeah.
You don't rule out Lee for Saturday?
I don't rule him in or out right now, Steve. He's in that protocol. You know how that goes. That's a day-to-day thing that only the medical people will come back and say if and when he's cleared in time to play. And the timeline on it, I don't know.
Further review, when you look at the film of Patrick, anything jump out at you after looking at it?
I was proud of Patrick, actually. His first significant time, and it's a horrible time to have to play in a game where you're just passing almost all the time, and they're teeing off with blitzes and rushes, and so we get too much pressure. But I thought he hung in there, made some beautiful throws, and appeared to have a lot of poise as he played. So I was impressed with that. I think everybody can see he's got a big-time arm and can make some of those big throws. Actually showed good mobility, getting out of the pocket, got a first down or two, and made some plays. So I was proud of him in that way.
Do you know where Tanner got hit in the first half where this impact might have happened?
Yeah, a guy kind of fell on his head,
Where in the game did that happen?
First half. It was right before halftime.
Are you concerned with the number of injuries that you guys have sustained, especially on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, it's been the injury situation is, it's kind of football, Sam, and I think I don't want to make too much of it, but because it's all individual and we're all disappointed when guys get hurt. It's hard, and it's hard on the team, and it becomes amplified when you talk about losses, and what that looks like. And knowing as a coach you need every available person that you can to help win a game, but at the same time, in different circumstances, it would probably appear, I don't know, somewhat normal, I suppose. And some of these I mentioned are kind of post-game things that guys go in for. Mick's got that knee historically, right, so it was aggravated a little bit. I think he's going to be all right. Dedrick's had a bad back for a while, but he's played, and he'll probably play again. Chris Webber's had the stinger. So I just mention them because they're getting treatment. You might see them with some guys with a few less turns and wonder what's going on, so I just bring them up. Aaron, I meant to write that down. Aaron, I think we'll practice today, and if everything goes well through the week, his deal is what happens on the first contact. And so we'll try to help him with that when we get into full gear later on and see how he responds. If he responds favorably, that will be good.
After looking at the defense more and talking to Coach Diaco, what happened? What did you guys see and why it looked like it did Saturday?
I think there are two things in general. One of them for sure was we missed some plays, right? I mean, we had opportunities to sometimes make a tackle and didn't complete the tackle, and then on some of them we were committed with a lot of people to stop short yardage. For instance, one guy misses a tackle, there wasn't much left, as you saw, and that was, so you got to make plays, and that was part of it. And the other part of it, we got beat on 2 speed options, and it was basically about getting reached. So when you have a certain responsibility and a guy's blocking you, you've got to stay on the right edge. Otherwise, there's going to be a perimeter play that you're susceptible to. Part of it is, both parts are technical. One of them's defeating a blocker. The other one's making a play, making a tackle.
Sometimes the fallback line when the team gets beat bad is that there's a lack of effort. And it didn't seem like you really thought that after the game. When you watched the film, what was your impression of that question?
My first thought when I get that question after a loss is I don't think of our team that way. And maybe I don't want to be blind to it either. I think that the way this season has gone, when you open the game with a kickoff like that, there might be some fragile parts that it might be more nerves than it is desire, and I can't put a tangible thing down and say this was it. And like I said, I really don't want to think of our guys as not giving the right effort. I believe in that, and I believe in our players, and so my first reaction is look at the film. How can we help these guys? And that's my response.
Is that the hardest part in season, the fixing a problem, because there are so many different layers to it of trying to figure out, where do you start?
Yeah, there's lots of parts to the preparation of a week, right? I think a coach's responsibility is the enthusiasm for the preparation, and that can bring about motivation and excitement for anybody that's learning anything. Even if it's a history teacher walking into a room, their engagement with what they're talking about is important to how the students are going to listen, and so I think that those are parts, and then the other part is getting good real practice where you know that you get a feel for what's going to happen in the game and you build confidence through the week, and that's what's disappointing as a coach when that all doesn't come to pass in the ball game. I just hate that for everybody because I know people are working at it, and when it's not working, then you got to go back and try to say why, and then in the meantime, you've got to maintain a deal where, we're accepting responsibility. Nobody's playing the blame game. I'm not making excuses about it. It's what happened, and we've got to help the players, help the team in all those parts. And when I say that about all the parts in coaching that come out, these are it. When the times are hard and you've got a team that hasn't achieved what they had hoped to, wanted to up to this point, then you've got a lot to deal with.
When you talk about the setback of the kickoff for the long run in the first half, and given the way that the Penn State's premier explosive plays through the season, how do you help fortify your defense and the mentality of that challenge?
Well, I think that the way you do that is those parts that didn't work technically, you go back and every part of it, whether it's helping a guy continue, here we have some young guys playing in the game, right? So there's no end to how you can help that guy for his total future in football be a better tackler. So you keep working on tackling, you keep working with guys about defeating blocks and on this play where you have to be. So you just continue to coach, then you have to be real about your plan. If we do this, this is how this is going to work, and you have to defeat this guy. So much of football comes down to one-on-one. It's who's going to win the one-on-one battle. It's an open field tackle. It's me and you. Am I going to win by tackling you, or are you going to win by beating the tackle? If it's a block, if it's coverage, so much of it eventually comes down to who's going to win the one-on-one. Our job is to help put our players in a good position to try to do that and teach them what needs to be done. That will never end, right? I mean, that is always a process of growth, and one of the things I like most about coaching.
Coach, why the decision to call a timeout 3 times at the end of the game?
I wanted to let Patrick play and take some shots, and I know I hated doing that actually, but I wanted him to. Here we are in a situation where in the red zone, he hasn't played much. Who knows if he's going to play next week? At that point, I was just going to give him some more snaps. And I know that's not very popular. I know that people don't like that. That's simply why I did it.
With Patrick, when you look at just the big picture of when you arrived here and a half, or however long ago it was, and where he is now, what have you seen in kind of his growth as a quarterback and where he is at this point?
I think Patrick has had the benefit of time being in the room, and I think Patrick has really stayed the course as far as his work, weight room, football, meeting room. I think it's kind of natural growth for a kid that has redshirted and then come into a backup role in a at a pretty young age to be the number 2 quarterback is is pretty decent shape for a guy positioning for the future. I think he's been working toward that. I think that's why he was somewhat poised and confident when he went in the game and made some plays in the game, which like I said, I was proud of him. So there's no doubt he's developed. There's no doubt that he's been engaged, and he is undertaking that part of becoming a college quarterback that you have to go through to be a good one.
Wait, you have to have an emergency guy?
Yes, we do. We do. And last year we used Zach Darlington, and we talked about, we're talking about possibilities there. So, I've kept that room small for a reason, and then at times like this I wonder why, so.
How many yards and points did your offense leave out on the field Saturday, and what role did the offensive line play in that?
I failed to mention this when I talked about a short summary of the game, in a game that turned out like that, this will sound probably not very important, but 4th and 1 at the 5 to tie the game up again haunts me, I think that you look at like I said, winning on those plays of whether it's a block or whether it's beating a man or making a tackle. That's what we have to do better in those situations.
How much in the 2 games did he miss? How much did he miss?
I think that probably the main thing about I thought Michael Decker was coming on in a good way and growing, and the whole continuity from the center over to the right tackle has been interesting at best this year. So the one thing that is, I think, good for the offensive line is chemistry and continuity working together. And so when you lose that, now I will say this, not necessarily the last week, but the week before, I was proud of how Cole stepped back in there. Cole's been he's been a guard, he's been a tackle, he moved into center, he's been a good teammate, and was always vying for a starting spot somewhere, Sam. So it was, in that way, we have to still be able to function. And so we're kind of proud of how he stepped in and did. And, and if we can continue to grow that thing with the young guys on the right. And we've also talked about playing David Neville more somewhere. Because David's an experienced guy that at one time was a starting right tackle and got hurt, and we like how Hymas has come along, and there's growing pains there, but I think it's good. But so we're talking about different things that might help. David's in the discussion about playing some or doing something there to help in the interior, even in the interior part.
Progression-wise, do you give him the opportunity to maybe take off and run a little bit more, just given the number of reps he's had this season and the running plays he's had?
Well, with looking at that, he has, as you saw, he's a fairly mobile guy and made some plays with his feet. For us to transition into a running plays with the quarterback might be a little different right now for our offense. But, what he can do, when the situation calls for it for a quarterback, and it's really, there's a great feel to that about when is it time to say, okay, enough's enough, I'm going to make something happen here, or move up into the pocket to throw, but maybe end up running. Those are split-second decisions that are made, and they're okay. I think that, I would like them to then protect themselves when they go down the field and be smart about it. But I certainly have never told a guy not to do that. I used to call timeout and celebrate if our quarterbacks ever ran for a first down. But they have. and that's okay.
Maybe the question is his time to do that, where it's okay to step up and take off, different than Tanner?
I think it's personal, what they see and what they can do. Tanner has made a ton of plays stepping up with people in his face and doing that. And so it's really what they see at the time. If they can't see it, then running is that option, and frankly, a more experienced guy might see more in that situation too. So that's where you might see a guy like Patrick run a little bit more. Doesn't have that experience of seeing all the stuff necessarily that Tanner has seen.
Other than the experience factor, does everything stay pretty much the same, though, as far as play calling with Patrick?
I think it will all come down to the preparation of the quarterback and what he knows well. And if that ends up being a little smaller package, that's probably smart. And we're obviously going to be playing a good defensive front that we're going to have to block and execute against. So less may be more in a game like this for our new quarterback, if indeed he is our quarterback.
What's the challenge McSorley presents this week?
Oh, I think McSorley is really a versatile, competitive guy, makes plays, feet, on the run, throwing. I think that, as I've watched him through the years, he's never out. Their comeback in the championship game a year ago was interesting, and I thought his play was outstanding in that game. So I got a lot of admiration for how he plays.
Barkley's considered a Heisman finalist.
Yeah.
Is he the best player in the country? What do you think?
I think he's definitely in that discussion. I don't know enough about all the other players to say he's the best player in the country, but I'd like to see better. He's certainly in that conversation and belongs there, as far as I know.
He's been held under 70 yards the last 3 games. After the way Minnesota was able to run on him, what's your level of concern about him breaking out on him?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about it. We've just come through a game of 400 rushing yards, and we're playing a back like that. So we've got a big job ahead of us, as I mentioned earlier.
Over the course of the season, when you look at the offensive line play, how does that level stack up to where you thought it would be, to your expectations?
Well, Steve, I never anticipated the disruption in the offensive line that we've had personnel-wise. You have to be ready for it, but so in saying that, then I would say we're not anywhere offensively as far along as I'd hope we would be. We have to score more points. If in the future that part of it has to change. We have to score more points, and because it's very interesting to look around at teams that are doing well and what's their formula. Some teams are just going to outscore people. Ohio State, go 49 against a good team last weekend. They're just going to score, and other teams are going to do their thing offensively and play good defense and win. Wisconsin, they're going to, in the 20s maybe, and sometimes bigger later in the second half. But there's a formula for it, and but for where we are right now, we're not scoring enough points.
What was your formula coming this year? What did you think you'd have to do?
Well, I thought we would be a balanced team with a run pass, and I thought with that balance we would, I anticipated also a balance between offense and defense in a way that, I don't know if I could say we would be more like Wisconsin than we would like. There's probably somewhere in between there, being realistic about where we would be both sides of the ball. But I certainly anticipated a season where we would be more balanced and score better.
You guys ranked last Big Ten sacks, tackles for loss,
right?
Almost forced.
Right.
Watch the games. We don't see Diaco bringing a lot of pressure. At what point do you maybe change that strategy, or is this kind of what you expected?
Well, you know, it's probably when you're seeing like a team last week that is a zone read type team, you know, the getting a bead on different pressures can be difficult probably at times. So, but the bottom line is true of what you said. That's where we are statistically in those areas that can change games. So it's something I think strategically we are looking at, some things that we know that are missing in a factor of winning games.
You used Bo Wilson on that first touchdown run. What made the decision to not do that on future short yardage situations?
That's a good question. You know, that was a goal line, specific for a goal line defense, and it worked well. It worked nicely. He did a nice job. You know, if we could pull back in time and think about that on 4th and 1 on that deal, that might have been a good call. You know, and I'm saying that just like you are in hindsight, but it's definitely possible. But it was set up specifically for a goal line.
How challenging is this final stretch? You got back-to-back road games, a later kick at Penn State, then you got to come back on a short week. When you kind of just look at this final piece here of the season, I mean, how do you manage through like a stretch like this?
Lots of elements there, Sean. I think that you know, that all we can do is I try not to worry about too much about the logistics of what we just did. We are back here. It's Monday. The kids were in the training room yesterday and doing their stuff the day after the game, and we're going to practice today and meet with the team. And so we have an ample week to prepare. You know, I try not to make a big deal about travel. You know, we're gonna every Friday night we're gonna get on a bus and go to a hotel. There might be a plane ride in between there, but you know, try to just minimize that part of it. I don't think that has to play a big role in it. And then, you know, we've already been through one short week. We are going to have a similar pattern of how to get ready. So it's not like we won't be ready for that. And you just have to do this stuff. And in our state, I can make excuses about it, but it's shallow. But we'll have a plan for each one of these things, how we do it, and get ready to win.
Mike, do you have a message to the fans that are maybe losing interest in this final?
Yeah, and you know, I'm obviously, like I mentioned right off the top, I know everybody, and when I said that, players, coaches, fans, everybody's disappointed in what's going on. This place has maintained their passion for their teams and Husker football for a long time, and I'm certain that they will continue to do that, and they should. And I love this team. I love their approach every week. We have had very few issues except for the games, and I appreciate that, the work that they try to do and get ready, and same with the coaches. And I'm positive the fans will forever love their team.
That being said, is there an opportunity here still to maybe save this season, maybe to flip that narrative around a little bit?
We never discount that as we get ready for the next game. We will always anticipate making a plan to win the game. And in doing that, we'll feel better for the weekend, and then we go on to the next one.
You have to work on making the guy, like, giving some, kids have to believe it. I mean, you gotta get the guys to believe.
You know, I think the best way to do that, Andy, is to teach them and bring them in. I think this is a real important time for each position coach to stay close to his group, for the coordinators and the staff to have a good, solid plan and present it with some energy and enthusiasm for it and believe in it. We have some veteran people that have been through a lot of different things in coaching, and so I'm not really worried about that part of it. I don't think we're at a point where anybody has lost faith in what's going on. I think that there's a trust with the coaching staff and the team, and I think that they'll come to work today. It's been consistent to this point. I'm hopeful that it will be the same today. Thank you, guys.